Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Live with Roger Hanson. Tonight, I'm going to be doing this show like I've been doing the three of them before this one. I am going to be doing it solo, and I'm doing that for a reason because this is something that I really do need to get into the habit of doing, and I really haven't had time to actually get into the topics that I want to talk about because I've been doing roundtables, a lot of roundtables, a lot of live streaming, and there's things that I do want to cover of different topics and stuff. So, with that being said, I will start my show. And first, what I'm going to do is, like I've been doing, I'm going to go through different topics. Considering this is one of the few times I'm actually doing a live stream in this format on Twitch other than video games, I will start out with the topic of video games. Even though there has been a lot of things that have happened over politics in the last week, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to discuss what's been going on with me in the last week when it comes to my video gaming and things of that nature. Besides that, I know it's 10 o'clock now, and a lot of you guys on Twitch are needing to go to bed. It's your bedtime, and yes, I am talking to the adults. You know who I'm talking to. We know how you guys on Twitch roll. You're early nighters. So, with that, I'll do what's been going on with me in the gaming world, and after that, we can get on to different topics. I am going to go over some politics, but it's not going to be like it was last week. I felt last week that was something that I needed to cover because of the events that happened with Donald Trump. And I went over political history concerning the conservatives, and the reason for that was, for one, we were actually finishing up on episode of, or the final episode of Roger's Real Time Talk Show event last week, and that was going to be some of the stuff that I discussed on there. It turned out to be an excellent video series. It's the second season, and I think we did a good job on it. If you guys that want to check that out, feel free to. We had quite a few people on there that brought a lot of good insight on it. For one, it was Bob Dub, and then Auto Excelsior was on there, as well as Mr. Robot, and then Within the Vacuum even showed up. They're all on minds.com. You can check them out there. And we had a pretty good season. So, like I said, if you want to, you can check that out. We did discuss politics, but we focused on political history as well, and we didn't get caught up in a lot of the controversy that you hear on most of these platforms these days. So you're not going to hear stuff about how horrible Donald Trump is, or how freaking Biden is just pure evil, or anything cool like that. Even though I was told recently I needed to step my game up, I feel perfectly fine with the way I've been doing the way my streams. I still have this ability to stream on Odyssey, YouTube, X, Rumble, Twitch, and I have no problems whatsoever. I also am able to get on Skype if anybody wants to contact me there. I have a Skype group right there called Live with Roger Hanson. If you want to find out all the stuff that I'm into, you can on that one, and then I can introduce you to other stuff that I've got going on there. Now, besides Skype, I'm also on Discord. You can find me there. It's under Roger's or what would it? it's it. I've actually got it popped up right now even, and I have to. Yeah, it's under RHL, which Bob Dub set up for me for Roger's real time talk show event, which I just now started using. I also have a channel that is connected to my Discord channel. It's called Wonderful World of Weirdness. Me and old John in my gaming community, who is also known as John Clark, both have that channel together. If you guys want to check that out, that's where all the spooky stuff is going on. So if you want to hear about spooky stuff and UFOs, that's where you need to go. We've got a lot of cool stuff on there. And like I said, old John, if anybody's aware of him, you can check him out on there as well as on Home Away from YouTube. That's where a lot of my gaming community's at. I've also got my own Discord channel called Gaming with Infamous. Now I believe on Skype I've actually started a group for Gaming with Infamous as well, so if you guys want to join that, you can join Gaming with Infamous on Skype. So now that I've done all my plugs, that means I don't have to do it at the end, and I can just say bye to you guys and we can be finished with this mess. Now, I am going to do my best to try to hit the 3-hour limit, which is what most people who do live streams goes for, but I'm not going to guarantee that I can get that done because I'm not used to getting on and discussing things for long periods of time. I'm able to get an hour done on just talking about stuff. Now, last week I did go through and I was able to do 2 hours, but the reason why I did that was because I actually had an outline on the things that I wanted to discuss. This week I went ahead and I followed in that direction, and I did an outline for the major topic that I wanted to discuss, which is again going to be history, but it's going to cover ancient history, and this is going to go all the way back to ancient Samaria and into the Babylonians and the Akkadians and eventually into the Assyrians. But before I get started with that, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with me in the gaming community. Now, I've had some interesting things that have been happening this last week. I introduced Minds Gaming to a guy that I've been gaming with called Rapid Glitch. Now, Rapid has his own Discord channel as well as YouTube channel called Nostalgic Gaming Retro, and I'm a part of Team Retro on his channel. And with him, he is coming up with like challenges for video games that are old retro games, and it's a cool concept. So if you guys want to check if you guys want to check that out, then feel free to do that, and we can turn around and have you on board where you can be a part of these challenges and stuff. But before we get into that, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit more about what's been happening with this introduction between Rapid and Minds Gaming. Now, Minds Gaming, he's been involved in a platform, I guess you could say, or an ecosystem for cryptocurrencies called Mint Me. And I actually went in before this, and I created my own token called the WOW token, which is for the wonderful world of weirdness. I just shortened it down and called it the WOW token. And I've been posting those. I've been posting my content on X, not only through X for uploads, but also through Mint Me, to where people who are interested in it can go on there, and if they want to support what I'm working on there, they can. And what I wanted to do was set up an ecosystem, I guess you could call it, where it's for content creators, to where they can actually create their own monetization program, where they don't have to depend on platforms like YouTube or Rumble or even Odyssey or anybody. They can actually generate their own revenue. So I started that, and I've been working on it for a while. Besides that, I've been going on Discord, and I've been getting involved with Team Retro, with Nostalgia Gaming Retro, and my buddy Rapid Glitch has been coming up with a board game, which is, in my opinion, it's pretty freaking cool. I think that it has a lot of potential, and since I'd say about a year and a half ago, we've been discussing doing a actual video game, creating a video game for for a project that him and another guy had. He went by Cosmic, and Cosmic ended up falling off the grid, so it ended up being just me and Rapid discussing this. Well, the concept was cool, that one was, but I started noticing that with Rapid was really into this game that he was having everybody do, and it was a Sky something. I'm trying to get the name of it, but he has like this insane system that that he has on his Discord channel. So it's basically, the game is like a Battleship, okay, but instead of it being Battleship, it's air assault, kind of like, and that is what got my attention. He was really into it. It's a really good game. So I went and I introduced him to Minds Gaming, and Minds Gaming set him up with a token that he can put into his game, to where whenever somebody goes in and they earn coins, they can earn this token, and it could be a part of the game system. So we got that set up. Now I have to get Rapid to where he can meet up again with Minds Gaming, so that they can get everything moving along, because Rapid's not really big with cryptocurrency. He doesn't know very much about it at all. So when he goes through this, he's going to have to be guided through it. And that's one thing I can say about Minds Gaming. He's really big on helping people out. So if you guys ever want to get into making your own coins and stuff, he's the one that you need to talk to. You can contact me if you're on Discord, and I can get with you and hook you up with him, because he's not big on Discord. He doesn't like Discord, because he feels that they're stealing people's data and stuff like that. He's what I refer to as an open sourcer. so I'm basically having to bounce back and forth from Minds.com to Discord to Skype to Jitsi to Teams, because all of these people that I communicate with don't trust the other areas that they have to, or that you have to use as VoIPs, you know. So I'm kind of like the middleman who freaking has to uh, somehow figure out how to get these guys to talk to one another, and it gets annoying, but it's all right. But anyhow, Minds Gaming is the guy you need to talk to. He's really big on helping people get started on it and everything. So I would suggest that you talk with him, and I can let you go or lead you guys to in the right direction if that's what you want to do. So yeah, there we go. Now with this situation, what it basically is we're going to actually create a video game that is like Battleship, and you're going to have to go in there as the player and determine where these it's airship assault. That's what the name of it is. It took me a while, but it kicked in. But you're going to have to figure out where these ships are. And when you do, you can freaking earn, I think you can pop balloons, and you can also earn coins, but you have to also play a challenge that comes with hitting the ship. So you do the challenge, you earn the reward, and it kind of goes along those lines. So we're in the middle of putting that together, and I think that's going to be a pretty exciting project to do. It's just a matter of me stop having meltdowns, because I ended up having a meltdown in the last week or so, and getting Rapid to actually meet up with Minds and get all of it put together. But that's basically where I am with that. This is also just one project. I also had another guy who came up with an idea for an app, not a game, but just an app, and it's pretty out there, but it might actually work. So I've been dabbling around with it, trying to figure it out. It's a Legos game, which they aren't really hard to make, and what it is just a basic app movement, you know what I'm saying, where you basically do one thing, and it's a relatively quick game. So I just need to come up with some time in order to get that started. I don't want to go into too many details about it, but it does have an interesting concept. It'd be something for me to start out. But one thing I do have to tell you, though, that I did find out is that I have to learn coding all over again. I actually haven't coded in, like, I'd say about at least 3 or 4 years, and I went in and started trying to mess around with it because something happened with Minds Gaming and Satori D on hubs. I don't know if anybody on here who's listening knows anything about hubs, but they just recently shut down, and everybody who had their rooms pretty much had to start over again, and Minds Gaming went to another place and started his own up, and this place is using A-frame, which I found out that is very, very weird. It's nothing like I remembered, even like 2, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, however long it's been since I've done it. So a guy told me in chat, he's like, you gotta use it or lose it, and that's really the best way that you could possibly explain anything when it comes to coding. Yeah, you keep on it, keep using it, because if you don't, you will lose it, and apparently that's what's happened to me. So that's where I'm at when it comes to these games. I have to go through, check out the coding, get it all straightened out in my head, and go from there. I've been having issues with being able to actually focus on that because just here recently, as you guys know, I went in and I got a premium, and I'm wanting to transfer content that I've had on YouTube and I've had on Rumble in the last year over to X so that people can watch it on there and it can help me out on X. And in the process of doing that, I've also been archiving a lot of the streams that we've been doing, not only on X Premium but on Rumble as well. I've been doing all of the live stream on Rumble this whole time in the last year, but I haven't been uploading anything. So what I've finally started doing was uploading it, putting it on Rumble, making playlists and channels for each category. So now there's a wonderful world of weirdness on YouTube and on Rumble. Just like I have a channel called The Praetorian on YouTube, and it's on Rumble too, as well as working with audio and video, and also strange stories. I didn't add that because I have Wonderful World of Weirdness, but I've added Live with Roger Hanson. That's on there too, but it's Live with Roger Hanson on YouTube is actually just under my name, Roger Hanson, so that's where you can find me there. And then Gaming with Infamous. I've got Gaming with Infamous on both YouTube and on Rumble, and all of that shit is just put on Odyssey, so it's not categorized into anything. It's just right there on Gaming with Infamous or Roger Hanson, and that's it. So that's basically where all that is. Well, I went through and I told you about the game. I mentioned how Mods Gaming and Rapid are supposed to be working with me on that. We're going to get that through. That's kind of at a standstill at the moment. I don't know how that's going to work out. But that's something that's happened within the last week. And I think that there is promise with it. It's just the motivation to get it all going and stuff of that nature. Other than that, what else I've been having to do is I've been working on getting back into my live streams. I've been live streaming on my gaming live stream is what I need to actually point out. I've been doing that on Rumble. I've also been doing it on Twitch, and I've also been doing it on X as well as YouTube. I haven't been doing it on Odyssey because I've been doing a whole lot of streaming on Odyssey, and on my gaming channel on there it's synced up with YouTube, so whenever I'm streaming on YouTube it'll automatically go over there, so I don't have to worry about it. But I have been trying to get it going because I'm also involved with Home Away from YouTube on Discord, and I've been involved with WLC for about 3 years now, and that's watch, like, and comment. If nobody's aware of that, that's what that is. And what we do is we just basically share our videos and we watch, like, and comment each other's videos. Now it's frowned upon on YouTube, don't get me wrong, okay? But I see it like this. I'm not a big I'm not a big supporter of the promote button, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go on these platforms and put out this stuff and then turn around and hit promote and funnel a crap load of money that I'm not even earning from the videos that I'm posting, you know what I mean? So when I do my videos, I'm not promoting any of it. It's all organic reach, and that's all it is. So when I go on to Home Away from YouTube, I have other things that I do too. Like I've been doing interviews on there. I played around with some music. Got people involved in that, but as well, I've been doing the WLCs, and we've been watching each other's playlists and stuff of that nature. I've been doing that for about 3 years now, and this year I wanted to do things different. I wanted to focus more on the live streams that I've been doing outside of gaming, with interviews and roundtables from all of the other stuff that I've been posting. And as well as that, upload content to YouTube so that I could get a lot of the stuff that I still had to upload taken care of this year. And I've got quite a bit of it done, to be honest with you, and it's all scheduled out. But I wanted to go into a transition to where instead of it being uploads, I wanted to do my gaming where it's live streamed for the next 6 months. I stopped doing the uploads in June, started doing the live streaming in July, and I want to keep that going until November and quit doing it in December, and whatever is kind of lingering off into December, let that just come to an end so that I can have a straight year of live stream and stuff like that. So it's been interesting because like now I'm going through that transition, and I'm also wanting to take a break from the streams that I've been putting out. And earlier on this year, I had Summer Todd in Austin take a break from doing Summer Todd's mystery show, and Austin made a comment to me. He's like, he's so used to doing the show now that it doesn't really feel right, and I think I'm going through the same thing. What I would call it though would be withdrawal symptoms. I've been doing so many streams and so many edits and stuff like that I really don't know what to do with myself. It's just that simple. I just have no clue what it is that I am going to do with myself. I've been restricting myself to doing just the show once a week. I still do my edits, and I'm live streaming my video games so that I can participate in the WLCs on Home Away from YouTube. And so far, it's going great. But the whole sitting around and not doing anything is what's really taken me. It's something that I've been having to work with, and I'm getting through it. But it really is a job for me to actually deal with. So I mean, it's not bad, and I hope that I can get used to it. It's just like with me doing this, I've had a lot of people that's been stepping up and coming onto my show, and they've been great. They've all been wonderful, you know what I mean? But a lot of the stuff that I've been putting out, I've said it even on the previous episodes, these weren't my opinions, these weren't my views, these were me coming out with topics and everybody else talking about them. And I felt that it was time for me to actually do something that was me, you know what I mean? And that's basically why I chose to do this. So this is it. This is the stuff that I'm doing now. To continue on with the gaming, besides the game, setting it up, getting it going, and then going on and doing my live streams for the games, on home away from YouTube. Me and Rapid have been working with Nostalgia Gaming Retro, Team Retro, and I've been doing tons of games with him on there, but it's always been retro, and we've decided that we're going to start doing something new. And at first, Rapid, being the guy he is, he said, "Well, we're going to do this next year. We're gonna make a channel, and we're going to do." Well, first of all, Roger, what we're going to do is we're going to have you do the podcasts and stuff. You know what I mean? So, of course, I'm doing the podcast, and Zach is doing something. I'm not quite sure what he's doing, but Disney Magic Zach's going to be doing something with me and Rapid. And this isn't going to be on Nostalgia Gaming Retro. This is going to be a new channel. And he's going to have his show and do stuff that he's doing. I'm apparently doing the podcast, and then we're going to be playing multiplayer games together, live streaming it. And I know that our first game that's being scheduled in is Quake. And I remembered the old one, and I knew that was good. So I went in and I did one with Rapid, and it was pretty good. I thought it was. So we are in the process now of setting it up to where we will be doing that. Now, this is the thing about Rapid. Now, Rapid says, yes, we can do this next week, or next year, and we can get it going next year. But he played this one game with me in Sudokuno, I believe is what he goes by in gaming, and he got real excited. So, and this is what he does every single time. He got real excited about playing it, so now he wants to step it up and start playing it in August, So this is going to be starting up in August. Like I said, I played around with it with them in that one game, and I think it'll be good. It should be good. Besides that, I've been also playing Doom. I've been playing the new Doom, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, those two games are pretty cool from my point of view. And I played the original ones, and I love Doom, the original Doom game. And I haven't played any of the newer versions. And what happened was about a year and a half ago, my son, well, it was on my birthday, my son gave me a Steam key for Doom, and I didn't play it until just this last month, and I love it to death. It's cool, it's actually a pretty good game. I feel like I'm actually playing the old game with a new game twist, you know what I mean? You can still use your fist and stuff, and you got a chainsaw where you can grind through somebody's head, just cool shit like that, and that's what I remembered about the original Doom game. It was just so cool. And if you guys need to have anybody give a review on that game, I can tell you 100% it's a fun game. Just when you go in to set the settings, I would suggest that you not go according to the suggestions. Like when they tell you to make it just to where you can barely see Doom, don't do that. Make it brighter than that, because if you go according to their suggested view, everything is dark. So you have a red background for an atmosphere, because this takes place on Mars. So you have the red atmosphere, but everything else is solid black. So you're going to have a hard time seeing. Um, that's what my son did. He didn't go according to those settings so that he could actually see what he was doing. And for me, I'm starting to see that is a big issue when it comes to playing that game. Other than that, though, I love it to death. It's a great game, and I think it's worth playing if you're wanting to give it a try. So I've been doing Doom. I'm getting ready to play with Rapid and them. I think that's going to be an excellent game to get into, to be honest with you. I've done one round of it, and I think that it's going to actually work out. It's Gauntlet. We're going to play Gauntlet, and with the new version of Gauntlet, we're going to be doing that, and I think that's going to work out really great. That is some of the plans that are coming up. I don't know for sure what he wants to do with these podcasts, if he wants to go ahead and just wait until next year. I want to set it up to where we have interviews with people like I was doing it on Home Away from YouTube, and maybe do it that route, go that route. But gamers are really they're finicky, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that gamers do, and then there's a lot of things that gamers don't do. It's just like here recently, RJ Casual, hardcore gamer, just told me that he's having issues with doing his podcast now, and it's because his buddy, his co-pilot, is getting really, really busy, and I can see that, but it's a shame, to be honest with you, because he does a really good job, and I think it would be an injustice if he didn't at least continue the podcast on his own. If not, reach out to maybe I don't know, somebody that he's close to, and just keep it going, and because he does a really good job of it. It's really hard to find people who's willing to do podcasts about the gaming world, and not just the games, but like the background and what goes into it, the whole thing about the industry and the whole 9 yards. I've just done a interview with a guy by the name of Mark, and he is he was telling me in it that he would be willing to well, he does Dragus Productions, and he told me that he would be willing to do a gaming show, on radio, but the thing is, there has to be like certain kind of topics that they would have to go by, and all the time he's talking to me, the first person I was thinking was RJ, because that's the kind of stuff he does and the format he does his podcast with, So that for me is pretty interesting. I reached out to RJ and mentioned Mark here recently, and hopefully, if both of them think that it's a good idea, maybe sometime in the future they could work something out. But like Mark had said, he's got all of his slots in his radio full, so it's not something that he could pull off here in the near future, you know what I'm saying? But he said he could keep it in mind. I told him about RJ, told RJ about Mark, gave all the credentials back and forth, but I think that it would be a pretty good project for both of them to work on together. It'd give RJ a chance to get into the radio side of things and see what that's about too, because he's got a lot of talent, and I'm not trying to brag him up or anything too much, because I know how humble he is. He's just the most humblest dude I know. You know, him and King Lion of Locks, two humble dudes. So those are two people that you do need to check out, though. They play a lot of cool games. Rapid, Rapid Glitch, Nostalgia Gaming Retro. He's another one. Um, Now you have other people that I would suggest as well. Rockstar. Um, he's another guy that I follow. Now Detective Fallen. This dude is the bomb. He's pretty cool. He does a lot of really good gaming as well. Now Maxi plays RPGs. I mentioned him last week, I believe. Might want to check him out. Now he is another guy that I do want to do a gaming interview with, because here recently he had a pretty bad ordeal that happened on YouTube. They literally went in and just took away his old channel. He had built his followers up to about 350, 330, like on my gaming channel, and they literally went and accused him of spamming. Now, I've never heard of spamming at all when it comes to YouTube. I don't understand it, don't even know what it is. I've been in trouble on YouTube for just a handful of things. Usually it's from hanging out with all my friends on Skype or Mine's chat especially. Mr. Robot, he's just a troublemaker. But those are usually the only reasons why I've ever gotten in trouble on the internet. So I don't really understand what spamming is about, to be honest with you. But they went in and they took his channel away from him, and he had to restart all over again. And I did an interview with him here. He was one of the last of the few gaming interviews that I did do, and that was before he lost his old channel. So he's starting up again. He went back to YouTube, but he also started a channel up on Rumble. And if you guys want to check him out and give him some support, I'd appreciate it a lot. You know, this is a good dude. He's not a spammer, whatever the hell that means. It surprised me when I heard about it, to be honest with you. I would have never even accused Maxie of ever freaking doing anything like that. And to be honest with you, it really pissed me off. That's how great of a person he is on there. So if you guys want to, go check him out. He's supposed to be on Odyssey too, but it's like I said, these gamers are all finicky. Like, trying to get them to actually give you links to their freaking channels on other platforms is so hard for them to do, you know what I mean? I'm like, God damn, dude, seriously, just send me a freaking link, But I did get a link for him on Rumble. I don't know how much he's posting on there, but he's supposed to be posting stuff on there, and hopefully things will work out with him on there. I suggested Rumble to him because I started on Rumble, and so far I like everything that's going on there. I tried D-Live here recently, and I'm not too impressed with them. They kind of remind me of Twitch, but on like freaking crack cocaine, So, plus, I do feel awkward about having streams like this on Twitch. To be honest with you, I've always been big on doing video games on Twitch. So since I'm able to run my mouth on this server or this platform and say stuff, there's one thing I would like to ask. If you actually get on here and you want to hear this stuff, have conversations in my chat, all right? Because they have these crazy ass achievements that I need to do, and it says that I need to have 5 people talking in chat at the same time. Now, I've been paying attention to this stuff, not just on Twitch, but on YouTube and on freaking Odyssey, all of them, Rumble. I've never once ever found 5 people on one chat speaking at the same time. Not unless it's somebody that's big, like freaking news, you know what I mean, where the chat is constantly moving down. But other than that, I've never seen like ordinary freaking chats actually have 5 people doing a conversation. If I saw 5 people talking in chat at the same time, I would literally have a heart attack. And I'm talking about all of them. I don't even think X would have 5 people giving doing chat. You know, I doubt it, to be honest with you. So if you guys are on there and you're actually watching this, you know, give a brother some love. Give a brother some love, because I wanna see 5 people actually talking if I can. It would be a miracle, to be honest with you. I've never seen it before. So I believe I have done well. I have taken up 46 minutes of running my mouth just on video games. So that's basically the deal with what's going on with me in video gaming. Like I said, this is good stuff, you know. Rapid wants me to suggest 10 or make a list of games to suggest for nostalgia gaming retro next year, and I'm not gonna give them to him. He does this to me every year. I give him a list of games for retro games, and he decides that he's not gonna do any of them. Yeah, so I'm done with that. That will not happen this year, Rapid. Okay, it's bad enough that you make me play the games you like, but now you're asking me to suggest games so that you can properly turn them down. It's not gonna happen, dude. And this dude, he doesn't just suggest games, he suggests horrible games. I mean, horrible games that are freaking hard to play. And I never liked him, you know what I mean? But I do have to give him credit. He did show me that Pokemon was actually a good game. I will say that. And that was hard for me to really admit to, because my nephews and nieces, they all grew up around Pokemon, and it was like all these kids loved Pokemon, and it was just a big obsession of theirs. So whenever I actually did do challenges that involved Pokemon, I actually did start enjoying it, especially when I found out that you could do all those cheats in Gen 1. That just blew me out of the water. That hooked me right there. Then after that, Nostalgia, or Rapid, ended up having me do a Nuzlocke for him, and we got into some pretty good edits on that one. And I've got to admit, I learned a lot about setting up templates for videos and using sprites and things of that nature. So that gave me a lot of experience there. I've been really big on the whole editing videos and doing new things with that, as well as, you know, working with Blender and coming up with CGI. I'm not saying that I'm really the best at it, but I'm a lot better than what I was when I started. And I learned a lot when it comes to video editing by doing Pokemon Gen 1, and I did that in Nuzlocke. So I thought that was pretty cool. I really enjoy I really enjoy it, to be honest with you. Now, another thing that I did want to bring up is the fact that we have been doing another um, episode of or Gen 2 is what we've been doing of Pokemon, and this one is red. No, it's gold versus silver. And I'm on the gold team. It's me and Zach versus Rapid, and at one time it was Matt, aka Linda, but he had to back out because of issues that were going on with his personal life, him and his sister. So he got replaced by Sudakuno. So Sudakuno is coming in on Rapid side, and we are versing one another. And this isn't just Gen 2 Nutslock, it's also Gen 2 Nutslock with a randomizer. So it apparently is a problem for Rapid because he's used to the actual games, but I never grew up on this stuff. This is actually the first time I've played Gen 2, so I don't really know anything about it. So the randomizer really doesn't affect how I play, considering it's the first time I played it. But yeah, we're doing that, and it's coming out pretty good. So I think that's going to be something to look at and really do something good with. But first, we are going to have to set it up to where we can do this better, because we've been having some technical issues when it comes to file transfers and stuff like that. It looks, on my part at least, with me and Zach, that we're coming through it with shining colors, but that's only because we're better gamers than what our rivals are. Sorry about that, Rapid. Need to step up your game, dude. Get things rolling, which I really shouldn't be saying that, because it's like I was just told that by Jaffe Ryder. He told me I needed to step up my game. So I guess it's just not cool to be doing that. Now, what is going to it's coming up on 52 minutes, so I might as well just go ahead and stop talking about gaming, and we can get into the other topics. Like I said, I do want to go over some of the stuff that concerns politics. So for everybody on Twitch, it's your bedtime now, so you need to go to bed, and I will be back on here a little bit later, and we will talk a little bit more about the gaming. Alright, now before I get into that, what I do want to do though is take a small break real quick and come back, and then get into the other things that I want to discuss. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys with a small song right now so that you guys can listen to it, and I will be back here to give you guys a little bit more. So this is coming from Austin Todd. His music, it's called Classical Mayan, and after this is done, I will be back with the second part of the show. So I hope you guys enjoy. If I can get it to play.
750 AD as the warfare and sacrifices only increased. Overworked land also began to lead to massive crop failures. The crop failures led to food shortages, famine across the land, and deforestation from overbuilding put an end to the growth of the city-states. By 900 AD they lay abandoned, reclaimed by the desert and jungle.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. I guess it had just ended right whenever I was talking in chat. Mark joined me on YouTube chat, and I wanted to say thank you for joining me, Mark. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put on another song. It's going to be a quicker one, and this time I am going to go get me some coffee. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a classic Mayan from Austin Todd. Now, what I am going to do now is I'm going to put another song in. I don't think I should put his song in. What I'm gonna do is a demo that John Clark gave me. Actually, no, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do Whiskey Blues. I'm gonna let you guys listen to Whiskey Blues from John Clark. This is a 3-minute song, so sit back and enjoy it, and I hope you guys do enjoy it. I'll be right back. I gotta get my coffee.
I woke up this morning and went back to bed. I got up this morning with a pain in my head. Whiskey and beer are my only friends. They justify means to an end, because I'm here to tell you about my blues. I don't know what to do about my whiskey blues. I got up this morning and went back to bed. I got up this morning with my tongue like lead. Just another day, be out with my friends. I just don't know how I'll make amends, 'cause I'm here to tell you about my blues. I don't know what to do about my whiskey blues. No more mornings and no more nights. All my drinking has won its fight. I slip away from this life as I meet my maker to end the fight. 'Cause I'm here to tell you about my blues. Don't know what to do, Lord, about my whiskey blues. I woke up this morning and went back to bed. I got up this morning with a pain in my head. Whiskey and beer are my only friends. It's just they justify means to an end. Because I'm here to tell you about my blues. I don't know what to do about my whiskey blues. I got up this morning and went back to bed. I got up this morning with my tongue like lead. Just another day, be out with my friends. I just don't know how I'll make amends. 'Cause I'm here to tell you about my blues. I don't know what to do about my whiskey blues. No more mornings and no more nights. All my drinking has won its fight. I slip away from this life as I meet my maker to end the fight. 'Cause I'm here to tell you about my blues. I don't know what to do, Lord, about my whiskey blues. I woke up.
Alright, so that is John Clark with his Whiskey Blues. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now that is just has just come out. You can check out John Clark's music on Spotify, I believe it is. No, not Spotify. Yeah, it might be. it's it's for music, is what I know. I can actually pull that up and let you guys know. Just stop being lazy. I'm actually on Discord too, by the way, if you guys want to check out that and talk to me. He is actually on it's Spotify. He's got And So It Begins, which is his acoustic music. He's actually got new music coming out, and him and Austin are collaborating together. So they're coming up with some good stuff, and if you're interested, go over and check them out. I believe he's going by Old John on there. Yeah, Old John, and So It Begins is the name of the song. So feel free to check it out and give these guys some support. So Mark is on chat. If he feels like saying anything, he can say whatever he wants. I told him that I needed to go get a smoke and get some coffee, and that's what I did. I went and got some smoke and I got some coffee. And that's basically, and when I say smoke, I'm talking about a cigarette, so you guys know. So now, since the music is over, I am going to switch all of this back to my background slideshow so that I can stay focused and not get distracted, because I'm really good at getting distracted, guys. Now, before I continue too, I want to thank everybody who helped with making these slideshows. I don't get very many chances to say that, because these I keep forgetting, for one thing. But Mr. Robot off of Minds.com chat helped me with some of this. I did do some of it on my own, but I also got help from Satori D, which I always mix up and say Minds Gaming, when in reality Satori D did these with Bob Dub. So Satori D, thank you for helping out with some of these AI images. And yes, they are AI images, but I went in and I created the slideshows with them. So I wanted to thank all of you guys for your help and support with that. And I also want to thank again John and Austin for helping with this music. And also, just so people know, when Christmas comes around, Jaffe off of World Pirate Radio Network does a Operation Secret Santa Claus. Now, he is usually doing this stuff later in the year, but I believe personally that you need to start out early and let people know about it. And I'm going to try to do that every time I do one of my streams for Live with Roger Hanson. So what it is he takes donations for children to get Christmas presents, usually over in Korea and countries like that. So he also has it set up when December comes around, where you can help people in your local areas, and you can also start your own campaigns to pass it on, basically. So it's a good idea, and that's one of the reasons why I do collect music from people that I network with, so that I can take and, well, this year I want to take and use it so that I can help them out on that project. And the reason why I want to get my own music and stuff like that is because Jaffe always gets in trouble. He's just a troublemaker and he always gets in trouble. So when Christmas comes around, I'm gonna get stuff that I can put together that isn't copyright infringement. just saying it nicely. He's a troublemaker. He's a pirate, for goodness sake, you know. So that's basically the gist of it. Because it's to help kids, you know what I mean, and that's what's important. So I'm putting it out there, and like I said, I'll be doing that for every episode that I come out with, because I do think it's a good idea. I think that it's a good idea that I'm going to help support with. So I am checking over all of the channels, and so far it looks good. Everything's on there, and we are ready to go. So I wanted to kind of get into the politics side of things. I don't know for anybody who's outside of the country if they've become aware of it yet, but Biden has decided to move aside in the elections. I know Mark probably knows about it because we just finished off our series, Roger's Real Time Talk Show event, so I know we're both kind of politically motivated right now, or coming down off of it. But he actually nominated, or he put his vote in for Kamala to take off as the vice president. I keep forgetting her name. But with that being said, you know, I wanted to point something out to everybody so that they understand this. Just because he endorses her doesn't make her automatically the person that's going to be running after the primaries. There's a process that has to take place, and that has to happen at the Democratic convention, which is coming up in a month. I thought it was maybe a day or two or a week, but it's actually a month away. Now, here in the United States, we've been getting a lot of cross messages. Like, there's a few Democrats who are wanting to step up and actually run for president as well, besides her. And here in Illinois, our governor actually, believe it or not, Pritzker, has decided he wants to throw his frickin' towel in the ring, or whatever you want to call it. That's actually, I don't understand if that's it or not, because you usually throw the towel in the ring when the fight's over. But he wants to join in the group of Democrats who wants to become president of the United States. And yeah, Mark says he heard about it yesterday, so I figured you did. So I figured I'd put that out there, because I know we had just gone over it, and in the last episode I went over some of the stuff about conservatism and things like that, which I mentioned earlier before you came on, or you might have actually heard it, I don't know. But I figured I'd wait until after the gaming to start talking about the politics, because, well, you know, politics, first of all, sucks. To be honest with you, I didn't even want to start talking about it until we did Roger's Real Time Talk Show event, and Mark and me and Tan Hai Tran were talking about it, and I decided to give it a try, you know. But this is pretty interesting news. I said it on Naroki 5's show last night when we were doing his show, that just sit back and enjoy the show. This is probably going to be better than any frickin' soap opera that has ever frickin' been put out on television, okay? I mean, it goes from one extreme to another extreme to another extreme. And, like, you would think that an election would be just as, or bad, when an assassination attempt happens on somebody running for president. But no, it doesn't in there. All of a sudden, you have a president who is completely senile and incapable of taking care of the country, and then he steps down as the person running for president so that the vice president, who he thinks will probably run for president, which probably will happen, knowing Democrats, she'll end up being the one that runs for president, can take his place. But, you know, I mean, for me, I have a tendency of reading between the lines too. And there's a few things I picked up on after the news came out that he isn't going to run for president for a second term. And the one thing that really stuck out to me and made me ask one question is how long has this been going on? Because, like, with him having, you know, these severe problems because of his age, and I mean, if you've kept up with Biden, you'd also understand that he's suffered from mental illnesses going all the way back to the time he was vice president, you know, so you got the mental illness on top of this senile thing. But with all that, you have to ask yourself, how long has this been going on? Because, like, things now for me makes a lot more sense. Like, all of this crazy stuff that's been happening in the last three and a half years makes sense to me. Like, there's things that I personally, as a man, know that a man wouldn't freaking be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like here in Illinois, there's a huge push for teachers to teach children in first grade sex education. All right. Now, believe it or not, it's not men, you know, throwing a fit over that. It's actually women who are saying, look, you're not going to teach my kids sex education in first grade. And I can understand that because, you know, my sister, first of all, is one of those women who had an issue with that. And I think that it's hard enough for a mother to have a little 6-year-old girl walk in and ask her what a vagina is, you know what I mean? And that right there is something that I feel that is a mother's job to take care of, not a school system. I don't think that anybody should be responsible for that other than the mother. The father, maybe, if circumstances allow it. It's just like it's awkward for a little boy to hear about sex from his mother, so it's something that a boy should hear from his father, and that's just the way I feel about it. You know, I don't think that a school system should be the ones teaching these kids how to do that, and I also don't think that it should be thrown upon the school system to be responsible for that either. I really believe that that's something that should be taken care of within the home. And that's just my personal take on that. And for some reason, I keep having issues on my OBS with my slideshow and everything. It just keeps stopping. So give me a second on my slideshows. I got to keep track of them. But that's something that really sticks out to me when it comes to stuff like that, you know. And a lot of this stuff, like I said, is starting to make more sense. This is something that a radical far left woman would come up with, you know what I mean? And all of this insane controversial stuff is something that really focuses more on like a woman's view than what it would a man's view. Like Biden, first of all, he is very extremist when it comes to his radical views. Don't get me wrong. And you know, a lot of people, they like to say that Obama was the puppet master with all of this, but I think that it's vice versa. I think that Biden was actually the one behind the scenes calling all the shots, you know. And the reason why I say that is because I know a little bit more about Obama's political history than what a lot of people have, because Obama was known by everybody in the country after he became president, but you need to understand that he had a history in the state of Illinois before he actually became president, you know. And the one thing that I can tell you about is Obama wasn't a long-term resident in the state of Illinois. He actually moved here. He was given this seat, and he moved on politically to the White House. But he didn't stay here very long. He served in Illinois as a stepping stone for his next step in politics. And shortly after he left office here in Illinois, with all the talk and all the great things they say that he's done for the state of Illinois and Chicago, you know, shortly after he left here, our governor ends up getting arrested and put in prison because it was found out that he was selling the same seat that Obama had occupied to other people within the political circles. So he got in trouble with that and a few other things. So the whole thing for me, what I'm trying to say though, is this was only a stepping stone in his march to the White House. Now, when it comes to the actual puppet master, I believe honestly that it was Biden. Now, I heard earlier on X where they were talking about that, and I wanted to mention it, but I also heard about Hillary Clinton and all of this stuff. Now, the thing about Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, they are pretty extreme, but they're in their own little group, in their own little category. Now, Kamala Harris and Obama and Biden, they were cohorts with the Clintons, but you got to understand these are two separate groups of Democrats. You know what I'm saying? Like, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were more conservative Democrats. Believe it or not, there is such thing as conservative Democrats. But they took on that stance, you know. A lot of the conservative Democrats like to call themselves moderates, but that's basically what they are. So you've got their class of craziness, and then you have the Obama class of craziness, and you can't really confuse them, because even though they do work together, they're not one and the same. Their agendas are different in some ways, so that's something that you have to take into consideration with that. Now, when it comes to Kamala Harrison, there's another thing that I believe is involved there. Now, this has been on my mind since all of this started with the whole senile thing. Now, when the debate actually happened, and I was watching it, I've mentioned this on some of the previous episodes. It was horrible. Okay, I sat there and I watched it, and it was so bad that I had thought that I only watched half the video of it. But come to find out, after watching it the second time, I actually watched the full video. But at some point halfway through, I didn't want to watch it anymore. And for some reason in my mind, I told myself that I'd never finished it. And that was the only reason why I watched it again. So I go to watch this thing again, and it was just horrible. And it just reminded me, no, Roger, you watched this whole thing. And from my take on that, it was so bad that even Donald Trump didn't want to be there to freaking to do this thing. And now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because like there's a few things that I've mentioned before that I'm going to mention again. Now, Biden is in hot water right now. Him and his son both, and this has to do with Ukraine, and has to do with a conversation that took place between his son and him on a laptop. Now, the federal or the Republicans are having federal hearings in Congress right now over these issues, and they're wanting to get their hands on that laptop so that they could hear what the conversation was about and who it was with. Now, the president has apparently used his political power to prevent the Republicans from hearing that, and I don't think that's the end of it. I think that Biden knows his son is going to prison. There's no way around that, and he has only one of two choices. Does he actually go to prison with his son, or does he play the part of the senile old president who steps aside and maybe he'll get some sympathy when his name's brought up and the investigation is finished? That's one take that I have on that. And the things that we've seen here recently could possibly be just a show to where they could he could actually save his own skin, basically. Now, with that being said, there's another thing that I wanted to mention about this whole thing with Kamala Harris. And for some reason, it reminds me a lot of Gerald Ford. Now, I know I've heard on the news media they talk about LBJ and the assassination with Bobby Kennedy, which, yeah, if you want to go the complicated route, yeah, you can compare it to that too. But I see more of a Gerald Ford situation that happens here with Gerald Ford actually being able to take office without actually being voted into office. What happened here, if you really look at it, was Kamala Harrison was able to get put into a spot of being nominated as president without actually having to go through the process of the primary elections, which would allow all these other Democrats to come together and debate with one another, and then the convention would choose who they wanted to run for president against Donald Trump. This would be kind of like a fast track of avoiding that whole process so that they could get Kamala Harrison into the position to run against Donald Trump. Now, I heard last night on Naroki from B where he thinks that this is just another way to darken Trump's image even more, because he believes, and a lot of people believe, that Donald Trump just has this in the bag. But I personally don't feel that the Democrats feel that way. You know what I mean? They've never shown any type of signs that they're going to give up. You know what I mean? I've never seen them give that kind of an attitude. So, in my mind, they still think they have the chance, no matter what. They're gonna try to get the office no matter what happens. And I could see that, about Donald Trump's name getting even bashed even worse than what it already is. But I also see this as a chance to fast track a black Democrat woman, into a position where she could become the first female president of the United States. So I do see that as something to look at too. So does that sound crazy, Mark? I don't know. If you're still there, let me know. What do you think? Do you think that sounds pretty legitimate, or do you think I'm just being crazy like I always am? You know, but for me, that's my take on it. I know that a lot of people have different opinions about that, but that's just how I see it. I knew something was up. I was thinking that it was more on the lines of him being a drunk. He's already been he's already confessed to being an alcoholic, you know what I mean? And back when he was vice president, I remember hearing him say that he had a drinking problem. I guess one of his sons died from cocaine, I guess, which seems ironic that he has another son that died from or that has problems with cocaine as well. But he would do these he would do these announcements once a week for Obama, where he would get on the White House platform on Facebook, and he would give kind of like a review of what's been taking place over the week. And every time I watched that, it sounded like he was drunk, you know. And I brought it up in the chat a couple times, and it just seemed that he was always drunk. And Mark confirmed, nah, that sounds legit. So I've got confirmation from my buddy Mark, so it's all good. It has to be true. That's just how I feel about it. So thank you, Mark. So we have 2 against 1. No, 2 against 0. Nobody has ever gone against me. So, but you know, I thought for the longest time that he was drunk, and then I heard later on that he had some kind of mental disorder that was causing him to slur when he talks. So that's where I learned that he does have mental disability. And it's like I said, whenever I first started, it seems like now all of a sudden they're pushing this senile thing with the fact that he had mental disabilities up to make it sound like he's, you know, this poor decrepit old man. And it could be the case. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. I couldn't tell you if that's true or not. But for me, I just think that is more smokescreen. You know, it's a way for him to get out of this thing with a little dignity, but at the same time be able to save his own ass before he goes to prison. That's just my take on it. Now, also, I want to mention that we have been doing some, well, actually, I'm going to end it right there when it comes to the president and everything. That's my only take on it right now. The one thing I can say is, if you guys want to make a comment about it, go ahead and make a comment and I'll share it on the stream. But other than that, sit back and enjoy the show when it comes to this presidency, because this is going to be the most outlandish election that the world has ever seen. I don't think anything like this has ever happened worldwide. Okay, this is going to be like the whole freaking ball and chain, the whole circus, like everything. Like you're gonna, it just keeps getting worse and worse as you go by. So just sit back and enjoy it, because that's basically what this is all about. It's a show. But now that that's covered, I do want to get into or say something that tomorrow we are going to have the last episode for this season of Tech Talk, and if you guys can come on and check that out, you will not be disappointed. We have actually found something pretty cool to talk about, and believe it or not, it has to do with Odyssey. On Tech Talk, we usually we take time to go and look at alt tech platforms, and we've covered Odyssey, we've covered Rumble. We did a little bit of BitChute, but not very much. But we even talked about Rumble too, and Minds.com especially. But this is interesting with Odyssey. They're coming out with a whole new concept. Now here recently they got new supporters for their tech, and for their platform, because Library, which is their mother platform that they came from, ended up getting in trouble with a few government officials, shall we say, and they ended up having to discontinue their services. Well, Odyssey broke away from them, and they basically had to start on their own, and they got support from another group which introduced new technology, which I believe is called RView. We had it on the last episode of Tech Talk, which you can check out on Working with Audio and Video on YouTube and Rumble. Now, this next episode, we're diving deeper into it, because the way it was explained was pretty cool. But then we started going deeper and finding out stuff about it, and there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening there with Odyssey, believe it or not. Now, I've already been impressed with their live stream. Now, their live stream is a little bit complicated, but once you get through, like, it'll take you about a week or two to get over the process about how it is that you live stream on there. But once you get through that, you start figuring out that they have something that YouTube doesn't have, Twitch doesn't have, none of them have. It's like, say, like right now I'm recording as well as doing my live stream, okay? And say that something happens to this live stream to where freaking it's not good. And instead of me going in and taking that recording and live streaming all over again on Odyssey, all I have to do is go in to the settings. I can freaking take what I'm recording here and I can put it into this actual live stream without having to do another one in its place and deleting this one. I can literally put the recorded version right into this live stream, and that's the only platform I know that can do that. Well, now they are coming up with a new idea that I've just heard about, but Mark and Tan told me on the show that this has been out for a while. So we went through and we checked it out, and there's a lot of cool stuff that's involved with it. Now, the whole concept behind it is like, imagine you make your content, all right? Now, what happens is you picture like YouTube and Twitch and Rumble and X and Odyssey as being planets, okay? And each of these planets, you have to go to each of them to put your content on them separately. That's the way it works now, right? So, or you multicast all of these planets. But with Odyssey, what happens is you take and you create your content, and instead of it going to each of these planets, imagine your content being a part of the stars that are above each of these planets. So you have each star representing content, and what happens is these planets look up at these stars and they get to pick and choose what they want on their platform. You know, so they're pulling them out of the sky, you know, pulling that content out of the clouds, or out of the stars above them. Now that to me is a pretty cool concept, and I was fine with that. But then I turned around and looked at it deeper with Tan and Mark, and we started finding out some more cool stuff. So if you want to know more about that, show up tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I believe it's 11 p.m. GMT, General Motors time, over in England. So you can check that out, or UTC. That's English for we rule the world, and you know it. So check us out there, and trust me, I don't think you'll be disappointed by it. It's a pretty cool concept, and I'm not trying to promote for Odyssey. I just think it's a really cool thing that's happening there, and I would have easily overlooked it if me and Tan and Mark didn't actually go through and do this. So show up and you can find out more about that. I wanted to mention something else about something we had covered previously too. I was bringing it up on Tech Talk about the car industry being held ransom for or by hackers who had hijacked their metadata for the computer program that takes care of their cells and stuff like that, and parts and things of that nature. Now this company is multinational. They service over like 100 different countries worldwide, and they're a big corporation. And we went through and did a episode on that, and it looked like it was pretty bad. Like they could have had a lot of things put in place that could have helped them to where they wouldn't have to be paying ransom to these hackers, but apparently they didn't even have backup. Well, this week something else happened that kind of stuck out to me after we had done that episode, and it's LaGuardia Airport. Apparently they had issues with their computers to where the entire airport was shut down, and this is coming from an airport who was also hacked less than 2 years ago, I believe. So when I saw that, you know, it made me kind of curious about what kind of tech are these big corporations actually using, and things of that nature. So I think when we do our last episode next week or tomorrow, I think we should actually come together off camera, Mark, and we should come up with a game plan, because I think we can actually do a lot of cool episodes next season. We'll start up back in January of next year, as long as I don't, you know, piss you and Tan off and get you upset, because I know I pick on you for being English. But, you know, I mean, just all I can say about that is just be grateful you're not Canadian. Because, I mean, if you think I say bad stuff about you, think about all the horrible stuff I say about Tan. You know, poor guy. And he's Oriental on top of that, so that's like an Oriental Canadian. You know, you're just asking for it, like. So, but yeah, I think we should come together and come up with a game plan on some of that stuff. I think we should we could come up with some even better content. We had been discussing AI and stuff, so I really believe that's some good stuff that we've done this year, and I believe that we could actually turn that into something good. So I am amazed because I have actually covered almost 2 hours of stuff pertaining to video games and to politics. So I'm getting better at this. I'll work it out, and I didn't even have to go according to my outline yet. Now, the next bit of stuff that I'm going to come up with is the stuff I was talking to you about with my history. I'm obsessed with history, and I love it. So just understand that when I tell you that you're going to hear history in my streams. But the thing that's different between my history and what you watch on your videos is my history's cool. I mean, I have like just cool freaking shit that I found. This is something also that could help out people when it comes to understanding a lot of the mysticism and stuff like that that's taking place in certain circles on the internet. And I'm not going to go too much into detail, but it's pretty cool. And when I get back, I will point that out. But for now, what I'm going to do is I am going to put up some more music so that we can showcase some cool stuff. And I did John, and I did some of Austin Todd's music. Now I want to also put out some music from another guy. Now he does excellent songs. His name is Within the Vacuum. He's on minds.com if you guys want to check him out, and he also is involved with MintMe. He has his own cryptocurrency on there too. If you guys want to check him out, feel free to hit me up or go to Minds Chat, and you can find him in Infinite Imaginarium on Minds Chat. You can also find him on a few other platforms that I am not quite aware of at the moment, but I will be able to give some more information. Now this is my favorite song from him, so I want you guys to check it out. I told this guy he could be like the next or he could be the first Latin Elvis Presley. Okay, he's that good. So let me switch things over real quick so that we can put his music on the media source instead of having that slideshow. So I'll get it set up and let you guys listen to Within the Vacuum. I remember this is on acoustic, so I hope you guys enjoy.
Visual spectacle was more than incredible. The visual spectacle was more than incredible. Immersed into the waters by your command, it elevates our souls to remember who we are. You, my love, now I remember all the things we've done in your creative field of love. The visual spectacle was more than incredible. The visual spectacle was more than incredible. Beyond the limits, there are no laws. We set it higher in the sky where no one ever flies. You, my love, now I remember all the moments in our past lives. Yeah, I remember now. Now I remember. 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 Do, 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 do. That one's called I Remember.
like, so then music seems to finish off a lot faster than what I'm used to. But that's okay. So I guess the best thing for me to do is to get right back into what I was talking about. I'll get the slideshow up here in a minute, but hope you guys enjoyed that. That's Within the Vacuum. You can find him on minds.com. You can also find him with Minds Chat, and that's with Infinite Imaginarium. If you guys are interested in seeing more of him, or hearing more of him, he's got a lot of projects that he's taken, that he's doing concerning music, and he's doing really good things with concerns to his community and things of that nature. So that's somebody that you should really get to know, hook up with. I believe he's on X too. So, and you can find him in my my profile. If you go on there, you can see where he's reminded of a lot of my stuff. So he's a real good guy, somebody that you should really check into. He's got a lot of good stuff going on right now, and I'm just basically running my mouth so that I can find that freaking slideshow, so you guys know. But here we go. We have the slideshow back up, and I guess I can go on with the next group of topics that I want to mention. Now, this is stuff that I wanted to go through, and I did make notes on it because this is stuff that I really do enjoy doing, and I want to get the information straight because just to give you a little background history on me, I have always been fascinated with history. I was a horrible student in school. I didn't make very good grades, but the one thing I can tell you about is I loved history. That's all I've ever talked about, even from the time I was a kid. But with that being said, I'd like to also mention something that was brought up in my interview with Mark from Progress Productions, or Dragus Productions, that he mentioned, and it's he said something that I can relate to. Like, as I told you before many times, that I've been in partnership with old John Clark with Wonderful World of Weirdness, and before that I started my own channel up that I started from scratch, and it's called Strange Stories. Now, before it was Strange Stories, it was named The Strange, the Bizarre, and the Unusual. I like it. Now, I ended up changing the name to make it shorter for purposes concerning SEO and search engines and stuff like that. But it's always been the same thing. And Mark said something in the interview that I agree with. He said that, it's really hard to get away from the whole paranormal UFO type of genre, and that I do admit to, that I do relate to. I enjoy doing other topics, but it is hard getting away from that community and that genre to do different things. And with that being said, that's one thing that I want to point out before I say this, because just so you know, I've always been interested in ancient history, but not as much as what I have been in the last 5 or so years. My attention to ancient history believe it or not, happened because of what I got involved with when it comes to the paranormal, when it comes to UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. What really inspired me, believe it or not, was Zachariah Sitchin. Now, Zachariah Sitchin, I can say a lot of good things or bad things about him. I could say a whole lot of things that freaking most people say today about him, about his theories and his ideas. But I can't do that because the whole truth is my whole interest in and everything concerning ancient history today was inspired because of the things that I heard him say. So even though some people could say that his stories weren't real, they were fictitious or whatever, they can't say that he didn't inspire a lot of people into getting more involved in ancient history and learning this stuff, because this stuff has a lot of cool things that are involved with it. And if you aren't involved with it, I just encourage you to just listen to some of the stuff that's being said, because this is really good stuff, you know. Now, there is another guy that I do want to give recognition to, because this is probably the most amazing person that I know of who is into archaeology, and if I can say his name properly, I will, but his name is Irving Finkel. Okay, now Irving Finkel is an amazing guy. Now, before I get on with this story, I want to point something out about this guy. He is the one who inspired me to go further with my research after Zachariah Sitchin, because like the things this man talks about is just completely mind-blowing. Okay, he did a Halloween special concerning the ancients' views on demons and things of that nature back during the times of the Sumerians, and it is just mind-blowing. If you ever get it's ghost stories is what it was called, basically. That was the first ghost stories in human history, is basically what it all rotates around. And he even did a Halloween special on it. But when I first heard about him, he actually went over to the Middle East and he built the Ark according to the Sumerians, not the Jewish version of the Ark, but the Sumerians version of it, to see if it would actually work. And he made a documentary about it, and that's what really caught my attention before he did this first Ghost Stories one. And he's a part of the British Museum too, if you guys are interested in checking him out. But he is the one who I get most of my information from, just so you guys know. Before I start this, I wanted to put that out there and let everybody know that the stuff that I usually talk about when it comes to all of these folklores and all of these topics about mysticism is grounded in archaeology. It's not from a lot of the stuff that's being pushed out, like and a lot of the stuff that's just being pushed out, to be honest, is very negative, and it hurts people in a lot of ways, which I think people should really stop and look at. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up, because and I was even debating on if I even wanted to mention this stuff, but there's a lot of hate speech going around that really should be discussed in a real manner. All right. First of all, this whole thing about Moloch Ball, you'll hear a lot of people talk like it's actually something that should be discussed, when in reality it's not. It's probably the most disgusting thing that has ever been invented by man. It's caused a lot of deaths, and I don't want to go into it, because when I do have this discussion, I usually make myself angry, and I don't want to do that on this show. But needless to say, what I can tell you is, when it comes to Moloch Baal was never a deity. Now, Baal is the generic term for Lord during the ancient times. There were many deities in the Levant and the Middle East that were classed with the word Baal. So Baal wasn't like one entity. It was a number of them that the Canaanites used as a term, like El in the Sumerians is the term for Lord. That's what Baal is to the Canaanites. Okay, so getting on and past that, we go to this deity called Moloch, or Molog. This deity, there's no historical evidence that it ever existed during the time period that the Canaanites or any of those people during that time period, which this deity was supposed to have existed, actually existed. Like, there's no text written down in stone, on paper, anything from people during that time period that says that there was a deity by the name of Moloch. This term came about during the time of Christianity. Christians created the deity Moloch. Before Christianity, there was actually no mention of any deity of this kind. And this deity later on developed into a darker history, which eventually led to the death, I'll go ahead and say it, led to the death of a lot of Jews. It also led to the death of a lot of gypsies. And it flourished all the way up until World War II, where we ended up having one of the worst wars in human history. And all of this spurred because of this term, Moloch. Okay? So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get into what I'm about to discuss. This isn't going to be drastic. It's not going to be horrible and talk about really bad stuff. So just trust me on that, okay? So, in order for me to cover some of this stuff, I'm going to have to take a long walk. That means I'm going to have to go all the way back. And this goes back to the ancient Sumerians, okay? Now, in ancient Samaria, the Asipu, or the Mesmasu, they acted as priests. Okay, they were scholars and practitioners who would diagnose and treat people around the Tigris-Euphrates Valley in Mesopotamia, which today that would be like the modern day Iraq. Okay, and this took place around 3200 BC. Now, what it is these people would have like Sumerian and Akkadian rituals and incantation texts. Now they were associated with this one specific profession, and that expert was usually called in Akkadian the Asapu, okay, or the Masmasu. Now, in translation, this means exorcist. So, like when you hear about exorcists in movies like The Exorcism, or you hear about exorcisms that took place in the Bible and everything, that's where this all originally came from. It came from ancient Sumerians. Now, the thing that I thought was kind of hilarious was Finkel and his take on these exorcisms, because he thought that Hollywood should be sued for character assassination, I believe he said. It's been a while since I watched this video, and I should watch it again because it was really hilarious. I love this guy. Like, he really enjoys his job, and he talks about it. But before I get on with any of that, I want to continue with where I'm going with this, okay? Now, the cuneiform record formed the lore of their practice, translating Asiputu as exorcistic lore, or simply just as magic, okay? Now, there's another guy who is an archaeologist, and his name is Swaymer. He explains that Babylonian tradition itself considered this corpus of text to be of great antiquity, ultimately authored by Enki or Ea himself. And Enki or Ea was the god of wisdom and exorcism. Alright, he was also originally Ea, which is the root word for earth. So he was also the deity for earth. You had Ea, then you had Ea or Enki, which is Lord Earth, okay, which En is Lord and Ki is Earth. Then you had Enlil, which was Lord, and then Sky. So you had Lord of the Sky, Lord of the Earth. So that's basically how that usually worked out. En meant Lord. Now, the I had some problems with my throat. Now, some have described Isipu as experts in white magic. At the time, ideas of science, religion, and witchcraft were closely intertwined, and it formed a basis for the Isiputu. And so basically what it was is they didn't differentiate between science, religion, and witchcraft. They were all one and the same. Okay, so that that's the thing that one thing that you do have to understand. That's what Isiputu was. It was like it was intertwined with one another. So they considered science, religion, and witchcraft all the same. The practice used by Isiputu was what they used to combat sorcery and to heal diseases and stuff like that. So it was kind of a combination of all of it. Okay. Now the Isipu studied omens and symbols of symptoms as well to formulate a prediction of the future for a subject and then perform epitropic rituals in the attempt to change unfavorable fate. Okay, so in order to change a person's fate, they would practice these rituals, and they would study omens, and they would study like physical symptoms of somebody who they believed were cursed or had this sickness or that sickness, and that was to try to change unfavorable fates. So they believed in the fates. Now, Asipu, they directed medical treatment at the Assyrian courts, and that's where they predicted the course of the disease from signs observed on a patient's body, and then they offered incantations and other magic as well as the remedies indicated by the diagnosis. So the Isipu visited sick people's houses and were tasked with predicting the patient's future. In other words, would he live or would he die? You know what I mean? Things of that nature. And then they would also they also had to fill in details about the symptoms that the patients may have disregarded or just left out. You know what I mean? So when they went in there, they'd have to figure out for themselves what these people didn't say or what they didn't think was important. So that's what they did. They would go to these guys' houses for those things, and they would actually have to formulate like incantations or some kind of diagnosis for these people who were ill or who thought that they were cursed because of something, you know. Now, the purpose of the visits was to identify the divine sender of the illness based on the symptoms of a specific ailment. So first they had to detect what the ailment was, and then they had to identify the divine sender of the illness based on the symptoms. Okay, so now in ancient Babylon and Assyria, there were some things that took place too. Now, this is all associated with Marduk, and this had to do with his consort, Sarpanet, I believe is how you say it. And it's grouped around the pair as princes around a throne, and these were all chief deities. You know what I'm saying? So these were the all of the pantheons, the ones that were from Assyria to what was later known as Babylon and Assyria. So you had these deities that were worshipped in Assyria or Samaria. And as Babylon came along, what happened was there was a change in deities. And the reason for that, from what I can tell, was because nameless gods became lesser gods to people of Babylon. Alright? Whereas before, when it was Samaria, they had, nameless gods. You had Enlil, which was Lord of the sky. You had Enki, which was Lord of the earth. Then you had Anana, which Anana is actually Ishtar. They just changed her name. And these were basically nameless gods. They were given surnames, you know what I mean, like Lord and then the nature. So that is basically where there was where there was a shift in it. Okay, and during the time of ancient Babylon and Assyria, there was a converging of these deities. What they wanted to do was they wanted to converge all of these deities into Asser and Marduk. So they would take attributes from all of these lesser gods and they would try to combine them into Marduk to make Marduk more well, I guess you could say he would be more outspoken. He would be a higher god than the other ones because he was greater. You know what I mean? He was at the top of the pantheon, just like Asser. They did that in Assyria. So Assyria had Asser, and then in Babylon they had Marduk. Then they had his consort, which was Serpenet. I always had a hard time. Sarpenet. I always had a hard time saying that name. And grouped around this pair, that was where the chief deities of the older centers like Ea and Damkina and Eridu, of Eridu came from, and or was, and then there was Nebu and Tesmet of Barsipha. Then you had Nergal and Alatu of Akutha. Also, you had Shamash and A of Sippar. So you had Sin and Ningal of Ur, as well as pairs like Raman or Adad. Now, Adad is a name that was very important back then too. Here lately, I've been making episodes on the wonderful world of weirdness, the ancient mysteries, and Adad comes up quite a bit inside of that. That's some pretty good stuff. We've been doing, or me and Karma Love were doing a series concerning the ancient world and these deities and things of that nature. So that there's a lot of cool stuff that's coming out on there. If you guys want to check that out, feel free to do so. But what I'm saying now is like Adad is very important in all of this. Now, as well as that, you had Shala, okay, whose central seat is unknown. Like they really don't know what that central seat is. And when they say seat, these were city-states, okay? So each city was its own state, and within that city, each city worshipped their own particular god. Like, you would go from one city where they would worship Marduk, then you would go to another city where they worshipped Anu, and then who is above... not really Marduk, actually. This Marduk is Babylonian, not Sumerian, but like he would be above Enki. So you would go to this other city and they would be worshiping Enki, whereas you go to another one and they're worshiping Ishtar. And these cities were all connected to one another. You know what I'm saying? So they were separate, but they were still together. And that is what they're saying about Raman, Shala. They didn't know for sure which city-state actually worshipped them. You know what I mean? Not only did they worship them, but they had temples with statues of them inside of it. So, in this process of accommodating ancient prerogatives to new conditions, it is inevitable that attributes belonging specifically to the one or other of these gods should have been transferred to Marduk. And this is where we get into what I was talking about. Who thus, from being originally a solar deity, becomes an electric power, taking on the traits of Bel, which Bel, by the way, is Enlil. I believe it's Enlil in ancient Babylon, whereas when it was Samaria, it was Enlil. So, by the time Babylon comes along, he's referred to as Bel. Now, I could be wrong. He could be Enki too, but I doubt that because they started calling Enki Ea, and then Shamash is actually not Ningarsat. Utu is Shamash in Sumerian. So in Sumerian he would be Utu, and then there would be Shamash when Babylon came along. So who thus from? Okay, now hold on. Let me go back again. Specifically to one or the other of these gods should have been transferred to Marduk, who thus, from being originally a solar deity, becomes an electric power, taking on the traits of Bel, Ea, Shamash, Nergal, Adad, and even Sin, the moon god. A kind of composite residuum of all the chief gods. So Marduk begins to incorporate all of these other gods' traits, and he becomes stronger. Now, in the religious literature, this process can be traced with perfect definiteness. Okay, the older incantations associated with Ea are re-edited so as to give to Marduk the supreme power over demons, witches, and sorcerers. The hymns and lamentations composed for the cult of Bel, Shamash, and of Adad were transformed into paeans and appeals to Marduk, while the ancient myths arising in the various religious and political centers underwent a similar process of adaptation to changed conditions, and as a consequence their original meaning was obscured by the endeavor to assign almighty deeds and acts, originally symbolic to the change of seasons or of occurrences in nature, to the patron deity of Babylon, the supreme head of the entire Babylonian pantheon. There were, however, two deities who appeared to have retained an independent existence, and that's Anu, the god of heaven, and Ishtar, the great mother goddess. Now, Ishtar, like I said, was actually Inanna, and then Anu originally was On. Then his name ended up being changed to Anu, and On originally was supposed to symbolize just heaven, but then it was made into a deity which became On and then Anu. So that's kind of how that all worked out. And like they said, Ishtar was the great mother goddess who symbolized fertility and vitality in general. Okay, that's what she was actually supposed to represent, but then she became vilified, and a lot of people like to talk about how she was actually supposed to be well, basically satanic, you know what I mean? You'll hear a lot of people say that, but that's not originally what she was supposed to be at all. So what it was is I'll be honest, you know, the Babylonians and the Assyrians and the Sumerians even had this really, really screwed up outlook about sex. And these were like priestess prostitutes, you know what I mean? That's the only way that you can really say it. I'm not going to lie and say that it was something wholesome when I know that it really wasn't. So with that, I'm just going to put it out there and say that that's what she represented it, but it was a different time back then. You know what I mean? This was thousands of years starting. This was thousands of years before even the Jewish was around. You know what I mean? The word Jewish was never even thought of. So Christianity and Zoroastrianism wasn't even around when this religion was started. So you're not talking about a time period where people were discussing moralities and things of that nature per se. You know what I mean? I'm sure they did have lessons, but I don't think it had very much to do with the things that people believe in today. So I just wanted to say that. Now, there were, however, two deities, like I said, and that was Ishtar, the great mother goddess, who symbolized fertility and vitality in general. There are some reasons for believing that the oldest seat, and possibly the original seat, of the Anu cult was in Uruk, as it is there where the Ishtar cult that subsequently spread throughout Babylonia and Assyria took its rise. While Anu, with whom there was associated as a pale reflection of a consort Antum, assigned to him under the influence of the widely prevalent view among the early Semites, which conceived of gods always in pairs. Now see, this is what I was trying to make a point with when it came to Semites and what people believe about Semites. Like, Semites were all over the Middle East, okay? There were Semites that were a part of Israel, don't get me wrong, and Semites all over the Levant. But Semites didn't originate in that area. They didn't originate in one specific area of the Middle East or, the Orient. They were actually everywhere. Like, Semites were people who spoke Semitic. Okay, this is another issue that I've had with people where they think that being Semitic was genetic. Okay, and that's not what the case is. This is about linguistics. As a matter of fact, with the Sumerians spoke Sumerian, which was a complicated language form, okay? And they actually changed their way of writing to Semitic because it was easier for them to handle. And that happened with the Akkadians. Whenever the Akkadians and the Sumerians joined and they started intermingling, that's when the Semitic language became more prevalent, until eventually, when Babylon came to being, they were writing in Semitic language, and that's what this is about. This isn't about DNA or any of that nature. It's about linguistics, and linguistics is very important when it comes to these kind of discussions in this subject. And that's something that I've always brought up, but nobody really understands that because they have this built-in idea in their brains that you have to have the genetics of somebody who's Semitic, and that is not the case. Okay, it is a language. It is not a genetic feature to being a human. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've mentioned this a few times, and a lot of people still have a hard time with it, but that's something that I did want to bring up here, because this also is something that it's hard for a lot of people to to comprehend. People don't want to hear the fact that Semitics were around before the Jewish religion. They were around before any of the stuff that we believe today. I mean, they've been around just like Aryans. Okay, the word Aryan became notorious within the last 100 years. You know what I mean? Because of World War II. But at one time, it wasn't that way. People didn't have a problem with it. I mean, Iran, for goodness sakes, is basically named off of the root word for Aryan. Then you had the Indo-Aryans, and now it's been changed to the Indo-European, or the Indo-Europeans, because that's more politically correct in some people's eyes. But that's where the term Indo-European came from. It was originally Indo-Aryan, and these are certain things that people have a hard time with, you know what I mean? So I wanted to stop and kind of go over that, because there's a lot of disinformation that's being put out there that really needs to be understood, and people need to realize that this is what was going on before any of that. So now that I am done with my rant, I can figure out where I left off in my notes. I hope that made sense, by the way. That was not scripted at all whatsoever, if you didn't notice. Now, while Anu, with whom there was associated with the pale reflection a consort, Anton, assigned to him under the influence of the widely prevalent view among the early Semites, which conceived of gods always in pairs, remained more or less of an abstraction during the various periods of the Babylonian Assyrian religion, and taking little part in the active cult of the temples. His unique position as the chief god of the highest heavens was always recognized by the theological system developed by the priests, which found an expression in making him the first figure of the triad, consisting of Anu, Bel, and Ea, among whom the priests divided the three divisions of the universe: the heavens, the earth, with the atmosphere above it, and the watery expanse, respectively. Now, this would be the beginnings of what astronomy or astrology believes in with the great houses. So they're starting to form kind of a well, I'll just keep on reading. Now we'll go into astral theology. So that's basically what this is, where all of this was started. Okay, so as the first triad symbolized the three divisions of the universe, the heavens, the earth, and the watery elements, so the second represented the three great forces of nature: the sun, the moon, and the life-giving power. According as the one or the other aspect of such power is brought into the foreground, Ishtar becomes the mother of mankind, the fertile earth, the goddess of sexual love, and the creative force among animals, while at times she appears in hymns and myths as the general personification of nature. An important factor which thus served to maintain the rites in a more or less stable condition was the predominance of what may be called the astral theology as the theoretical substratum of the Babylonian religion, and which is equally pronounced in the religious system of Assyria. The essential feature of this astral theology is the assumption of a close link between the movements going on in the heavens and the occurrences on earth, which led to identifying the gods and goddesses with heavenly bodies, planets, and stars, besides sun and moon, and to assign the seats of all the deities in the heavens. The personification of the two great luminaries, the sun and the moon, was the first step in the unfolding of this system, and this was followed by placing the other deities where Shamash and Sin had their seats. Now this process, which reached its culmination in the post-Qumarabic period, and that's Hammurabi period, led to identifying the planet Jupiter with Marduk. So Jupiter becomes Marduk, Venus becomes Ishtar, Mars with Nergal, Mercury with Nebo, and Saturn with Ninib. The system represents the harmonious combination of two factors, one of popular origin, the other the outcome of speculation in the schools attached to the temples of Babylonia. The popular factor is the belief in the influence exerted by the movements of the heavenly bodies on occurrences on earth, a belief naturally suggested by the dependence of life, vegetation, and guidance upon the two great luminaries. Starting with this belief, the priests built up the theory of the close correspondence between occurrences on earth and phenomena in the heavens. The heavens presenting a constant change even to the superficial observer. The conclusion was drawn of a connection between the changes and the ever-changing movement in the fate of individuals and of nature, as well as the appearance of nature. To read the signs of the heavens was therefore to understand the meaning of occurrences on earth, and with this accomplished, it was also possible to foretell what events were portended by the position and relationship to one another of sun, moon, planets, and certain stars. Myths that symbolize changes in seasons or occurrences in natures were projected on the heavens, which were mapped out to correspond to the divisions of the earth. All the gods, great and small, had their places assigned to them in the heavens, and facts, including such as fell within the domain of political history, were interpreted in terms of astral theology. So completely did this system in the course of time sway men's minds that the cult, from being an expression of animistic beliefs, took on the color derived from the astral interpretation of occurrences and doctrines. It left its trace in incantations, omens, and hymns, and it gave birth to astronomy, which was assiduously cultivated because a knowledge of the heavens was the very foundation of the system of belief unfolded by the priests of Babylonia and Assyria. Chaldean wisdom became in the classical world the synonym of this science, which in its character was so essentially religious. The persistent prominence which astrology continued to enjoy down to the borderline of the scientific movement of our own days, and which is directly traceable to the divination methods perfected in the Euphrates Valley as a tribute to the scope and influence attained by the astral theology of the Babylonian and Assyrian priests. Now, as an illustration of the manner in which the doctrines of the religion were made to conform to the all-pervading astral theory, it will be sufficient to refer to the modification undergone in this process of the view developed in a very early period, which apportioned the control of the universe among the three gods Anu, Bel, and Ea, disassociating these gods from all local connections. Anu became the power presiding over the heavens. To Bel was assigned the earth and the atmosphere immediately above it, and Ea ruled over the deep. With the transfer of all the gods to the heavens, and under the influence of the doctrine of the correspondence between the heavens and the earth, Anu, Bel, and Ea became the three ways, as they are called, on the heavens. The ways appear in this instance to have been the designation of the ecliptic circle, which was divided into three sections or zones, a north, a middle, and a southern zone. Anu being assigned to the first, Bel to the second, and Ea to the third zone. The astral theology of the Babylonian Assyrian religion, while thus bearing the earmarks of a system devised by the priest, succeeded in assimilating the beliefs which represented the earlier attempts to systemize the more popular aspects of the religion, and in this way a unification of diverse elements was secured that led to interpreting the contents of the form of the religion in terms of astral theological system of the astral theological system. So that is basically going through and explaining the whole thing behind astral theology when it came to the ancient world and what it meant. Okay, this is kind of where a lot of the stuff I was discussing took its place among history, and it actually turned out to be pretty vicious, to be honest with you, because this goes even deeper. Now, the Babylonian Assyrian influence, the influence exerted by the Babylonian Assyrian religion was particularly profound on the Semites, while the astral theology affected the ancient world in general, including the Greeks and Romans. The impetus to the purification of the old Semite religion, to which the Hebrews for a long time clung in common with their fellows, the various branches of nomadic Arabs, was largely furnished by the remarkable civilization unfolded in the Euphrates Valley, and in many of the traditions, myths, and legends embodied in the Old Testament, traces of direct borrowing from Babylonia may be discerned, while the indirect influence in the domain of the prophetic books, as also in the Psalms and in the so-called wisdom literature, are even more noteworthy. Even when we reach the New Testament period, we have not passed entirely beyond the sphere of Babylonian Assyrian influence. In such a movement as early Christianity, Gnosticism, Babylonian elements modified, to be sure, and transformed are largely present, while the growth of an apocalyptic literature is ascribed with apparent justice by many scholars to the recrudescence of views, the ultimate source of which is to be found in the astral theology of the Babylonian and Assyrian priests. Now, signs that angelic beings are close by, or messages that you yourself are a divine aspect of the universe, a master at being yourself, signifying intuition, insight, and enlightenment. Having a clear message from the universe to become conscious and aware, or a spiritual awakening that signifies that you are on the right path and your actions are aligned with your soul's purpose. This also represents a moment of clarity, in which one door closes and another door opens. So this is all related to a lot of what's being discussed here when it comes to astronomy and or astrology and the Babylonians and the Assyrian religions and things of that nature. This goes back farther, and it reflects in a lot of the old Jewish mysticisms, and a lot of these mystics and the stories that go along with them, they've been used in very, very bad ways, and this is kind of what I'm getting into now. I'm having a hard time right now, so I am in the process of getting my throat cleared. I've been coughing a lot. It's probably because of all the reading that I've been doing, but we're like 13 minutes over the 3 hours thing, so I'm going to go ahead and keep reading. Now, with everything that I just read, it takes us into demons that were believed to exist back in the ancient world. Now, there is the Udog, okay? The Udog, later known in Akkadian as the Atuku, were an ambiguous class of demons. Now, the ancient Mesopotamian mythology, that's where this came from, okay? Now, they were different from the Dengar, the Anunnaki, and the Agigi, okay? And they were generally malicious, even if a member of demons like the Pazuzu was willing to clash both with other demons and with the gods, even if they, he is described as a presence hostile to humans. That's what they were generally supposed to be, malicious. The Udug, and you spell that U-D-U-G if anybody's interested in knowing. This is probably the most amazing part of history when it comes to the Sumerians, to the Babylonians, and to the Assyrians. These are amazing stories about these demons, okay? Especially the Pazuzu. When I was talking about Finkel said that he thought Hollywood should be sued because of character assassination, and I believe he was referring to the Pazuzu, because the Pazuzus were actually figurines that people would put by their door fronts and by their window sills and stuff to ward off the evil demons that would come into their house and possess their household. So they would put the Pazuzus up to ward them away so that they wouldn't enter their house. And that's what he referred to that as being. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, whenever I did more reading or more research into this, I found out some other stuff too about it. The word in general, the word is generally ambiguous and is sometimes used to refer to demons as a whole rather than a specific kind of demon. No visual representations of the Udug have yet been identified, but descriptions of it ascribed to its features often give to other ancient Mesopotamian demons. The dark shadow, absent of light surrounding it, poisoned, and a deafening voice. The surviving ancient Mesopotamian texts giving instructions for exorcising the evil Idug are known as the Idug Hall texts. These texts emphasize the evil Udog's role in causing disease and the exorcist's role in curing the disease. Only a few descriptions of the Udog are known, and according to Gina Kostantopoulos, no pictorial or visual representation of them have ever been identified. According to Tally Ornan, however, some Mesopotamian cylinder sills show a figure carrying a scepter alongside the benevolent guard demoness Lama, which may be identified as the Udug. F.A.M. Wigerman has argued that images of Lama and the Udug were frequently used to guard doorways. And this is what I was talking about with guarding doorways, with what Finkel was saying in his documentary, or his shows, his streams, which were pretty cool. So, if you ever get a chance to check those out, then go for it. Now, I do have some notes that I did want to go over, but we are going pretty late. Maybe at some other time when I come back to this, I could go over it. But these were about the incantations and stuff of that nature, so I did want to do that, but I think I can hold off until another time so that I can actually get back to this. And I did not realize that I forgot to put my media source back on there. My slideshows aren't working out tonight like they're supposed to be doing. I ended up messing up on my Twitch thing, which is fine. I'm really wanting to get the audio for this more than anything else. Later on, when I am done, I will go through this and do a proper edit, and we will have it looking good for you guys. So even though you didn't have a cool slideshow now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen eventually in the future. It has been 3 hours and 19 minutes according to the stream. Now the recording is 3 hours and 7 minutes. So I am going to give this a end. I actually made it to 3 hours, and I am grateful for doing that. This is the first time I've been able to do a 3-hour stream on my own. 3 hour and 20 minutes stream on my own, and much less 3 hours and 7 minutes. So I'm happy for that. Hopefully that last part didn't bore you guys too much, but What I'm trying to get at, and I really do hope that you guys do some research into this, is that these demons that I've been referring to, there's a list of them, and if you go through them, you'll find out that a lot of the members of these demons are some of them that have been handed down throughout time, like Lilith in Lilith's cave, which is a part of Jewish mysticism. That is actually Ardet Lily, and this is a shadow demon with features of a woman, dogs, and Scorpios, and they're supposed to be like children devourers. This is an example of what I'm talking about. This actually occurred thousands of years before the Jewish religion was even thought of. So these are things that we need to understand. Like, this goes farther back than just Jewish people or Semites, or it goes back to the beginning of civilization. So there's other things in here too, in the whole story behind Lilith is ancient. It goes all the way back to the Sumerians, and it's something that I think is pretty cool to actually do research on. But it can be a different opinion with each person, you know what I mean? And these were demons that caused problems like headaches and migraines and stuff of that nature, you know. And these priests had to figure out how to cure people of ailments like that, and then be able to foretell if the people were going to live or die, you know, and things of that nature. So this stuff, man, is something that I learned from Finkel. Like I said, he's an amazing man, Irving Finkel. Check him out. He's a philologist and an Assyriologist, and he's an amazing person, and I would like to give a shout out to him because he is cool as hell. There ain't nobody that's better than him in that field, so you can't convince me otherwise. So with that, I am going to go ahead and shut up and end this stream. Thank you guys for watching, and feel free to leave a comment, a like, a share, whatever, you know, and I will talk to you later. Bye.